The man shot by a Duluth police officer back in 2020 during a domestic violence call is now suing the city and the officer who pulled the trigger. Fyle has filed lawsuits for misconduct in connection to that shooting that left him with serious injuries to his back and shoulder. Fyle is seeking monetary judgment against the defendants for damages, including legal fees. As we reported, that officer, Tyler Liebfried, was charged with a pair of felonies related to the shooting when the investigation revealed he recklessly discharged his firearm. Liebfried fired several shots through the door, claiming self-defense when he heard two loud bangs. Those bangs were later determined to be an axe hitting the door. A jury found Liebfried not guilty in 2022. He was back on the force the following year. According to court documents, a hearing between the two parties is expected sometime next month.